welcome back in. Here we are coming to you from a gloomy day in Southwest Missouri. Another episode of Where the Game Lives On, well into season 3. March Madness right around the corner. That's the number one thing going on in my sports world. Byron, back again, sir. You've been gone for a couple weeks. Welcome in.
Yes, it's good to be back. Got out last week to go skiing. I much rather would rather have been on a beach playing golf down there, but the kids love to ski, so went out and managed to make it back to Missouri without a cast. So I'd call it a success. So good to be back.
That's a win. That's a win for sure. Well, we'll get right into this. All right. If you're watching on YouTube, you can already tell we've got a special guest in today, Mr. Basketball 2023 Hall of Fame inductee, the pride of Poplar Bluff, Tyler Hansbrough. Welcome in to the podcast, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here, guys. It's a great time of the year.
Without
it's a great
a doubt.
time of the year to be talking to you, Tyler, with it being March and everything. Obviously, a lot of success in the month of March, not only in high school at Poplar Bluff with some state championships, but then, of course, going to North Carolina and stamping yourself as one of the best basketball players of all time in college. So it's great to have you on today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's always it's one of my favorite times of the year, so I'm always watching for upsets, and I'm like everybody, screaming and yelling, and I'm tuned in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to give you a little bit more of a formal introduction here. I mentioned 2023 inductee of the Hall of Fame. The list is far more extensive than that. I mean, McDonald's All-American, 4-time first team All-ACC, 3-time consensus first team All-American to go with another second team, Player of the Year, National Player of the Year in 2008, 2009 NCAA Champion, an ACC Player of the Year. I've got to catch my breath here, if you know what I'm saying. But the accolades continue to go on. I could go for probably another 5 minutes here. Jersey even retired at UNC. That's a huge accomplishment. And I think we'll start right there. Obviously, being from Missouri, we know that you were very big about that. You always have been. So going to UNC back whenever you were being recruited, what was that decision like? Whenever you were obviously just a huge standout in Missouri in the national regard, and you decided to take your talents out to the East Coast.
Yeah. Well, I grew up a Missouri Tiger fan. And during that time, if you remember the program, Quinn Snyder was in a lot of jeopardy. There's a lot of issues surrounding the program. And I was getting recruited by a lot of schools. And I didn't really feel like Missouri at the time was a good situation for me to go into. And so it really opened up the door for a lot of other places. And I grew a great relationship with Coach Williams and his staff, Joe Holliday, who I'm extremely close with. And I really liked them, and I felt like I had the best relationship with them. And so that's why I chose North Carolina, just because of Coach Williams and his staff. But, you know, I always feel like you should choose a school based off of the coach and also some of the players. And I think that's extremely important. And North Carolina was just the best fit for me. And looking back, it was the right decision. And I'm glad I went there.
You had some success, obviously, had a chance to turn pro early and came back as a senior. What led to that decision to come back? And obviously it turned out pretty well for you.
Yeah, I think the closest I got to leaving was actually after my freshman year. I had a really good freshman year. It was a weak draft, and I really felt like, I could have been a higher pick if I went through the process and had a lot of workouts. I really felt like I could have jumped up the boards. But I really think that if you're going to enter the draft, I'm not a big fan of I'm going to go see where I go, blah, blah. I think if you enter the draft, you should enter the draft, and there should be no in-between phase. I'm not a big fan of that. You should fully commit. So I never got to that point, and I knew that if it was going to be one way or the other. I was either coming back to school or I was leaving school. And I talked to my parents, my grandpa, and we all felt like I got their opinion, but obviously I made the decision myself. I wanted to stay in school, and I enjoyed it. I felt like I could have got better. And a lot of people the one and done and leave school early. It was kind of what it was when I was in school, but it wasn't as big as it is now. And also, you have guys like Tim Duncan, who went to school for 4 years. He had a pretty good NBA career. And a lot of people don't talk about that. You can still go to school for 4 years and then go have a great career in the NBA. And I think that gets overlooked. And I think there's a lot of value in college and playing with good teammates and playing for good coaches. I really think that if you enter the NBA too early, you could kind of set yourself up in a bad position if you're not ready for that. And so I wanted to go back to school. And, after my freshman year, I would say my junior year, I kind of had a discussion, but I felt like I wanted to stay in school. I felt too committed to UNC, and I was in a good place, so I didn't want to leave.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think you probably look back now and don't even think twice about the decision with all the success that came there in UNC and winning a national championship for them. This time of year, do you always kind of get that itch that you're thinking about making that run and what it's like to kind of have that special time with your team?
I've this time of the year exactly right now. Teams are gearing up. Conference play, regular season conference play is kind of coming to an end. I'm always kind of tuned into the mid-major conference tournaments. I get a lot of joy in that. I think it's really exciting. There's a lot on the line, and the atmosphere is great. And you see a lot of teams battling it out because they know this is their one chance to get into the tournament. I really enjoy that. I enjoy the Big East tournament as well. I think the Big East, out of all the big conferences, I feel like it's the most energetic. Madison Square Garden, the main show. And, the Northeast schools, they'll talk a lot of smack and their fans are great. So I'll tune into that. But, gearing up for the tournament, I love the tournament and the unpredictability of the tournament. Anybody can lose. I enjoy that. There's some teams out there I really enjoy watching as well. So I'll tune in. But my playing days, guys, listen, my knee is in a bad condition. So I understand as bad as I want to play, if I were to jump on the court right now, there would be consequences. And I would definitely feel it.
You're in North Carolina currently. Obviously, there's a big game coming up Saturday, North Carolina Duke. Obviously, one of the biggest rivalries in sports. What are your memories from those games? And are you planning on going Saturday?
What I remember from the rivalry, obviously, teams I played on, we went undefeated in Cameron. Obviously, looking back, I really enjoyed that, and a lot of people ask about it. But I always like to look at it. The class that I went to school with at Duke, they don't know what it's like to beat us on their home court. So I always get a lot of joy out of that. They'll never know what it's like to beat their biggest rival at home. And so I got a lot of joy about that, and I like looking back at it. But it is a big rivalry. It is what it is based off the tradition at both programs and the success that they've had. They've had great players. We've had great players. Both big-time powerhouses in college basketball, 15 minutes from each other. So it's a great rivalry, and I'm always tuned in. And the kids are going to be playing hard. I love that aspect. So I'm excited. It's a big one for us. We could win the ACC outright, and it's we got them in the Smith Center already. And I always love it when we do a regular season sweep. I enjoy that. So it's a chance to make a statement. But we got Notre Dame tonight. Notre Dame's won their last 5 of 6. So it's a little bit of a trap game, in my opinion.
You mentioned that the schools are 15 minutes apart, 7-8 miles, whatever it is. Did you ever run into the Duke guys when you were in school? What was it like being that close to your arch rivals? Did you ever run into them in town or anything?
Yeah, Duke is Durham. When I was in school, it wasn't. Chapel Hill is a much better place to go out and have fun. Franklin Street, campus life is a lot better. So we'd see them a little bit over in Chapel Hill. Never would I go over to Duke. It's just not all that appealing. But we'd run into each other. But it was, it wasn't like we disliked each other like that off the court. But yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned Notre Dame was a little bit of a trap game. You can't overlook anybody, but I think Saturday is definitely a big step in kind of starting that momentum going into championship week and just kind of starting to gain that momentum. I'm curious how you're kind of viewing North Carolina's squad right now. Obviously, they're having a lot of success. Do you think they still have a chance at securing a 1 seed? And what do you look like kind of scoping out their March run here?
Well, when I look at the number one or the 1 seeds for the tournament, I think 3 of the 1 seeds are locked down. I think Purdue is a 1 seed. I consider UConn a 1 seed. And right now I consider Houston a 1 seed. Their resumes are much better than all the teams in college basketball. So you look at Arizona, a lot of people have them as a 1 seed. I think because Arizona plays in the, in a weaker conference, Pac-12, I would say that if they lose, I think a loss hurts them more than it does other teams. And I think if they lose, I think it's really going to hurt their resume because it's going to be to a quad 3 or quad 2. They have no quad 1 games left. And I think if we win at Duke and we win a few games in the ACC tournament, I think there's a chance we could slide into a number 1 seed. That would be our way of getting a 1 seed. So it would have to be a failure or a bad ending to the year from Arizona for us to get a 1 seed, and we'd have to win some big games and make a little bit of run in the ACC tournament. But as far as how I view this team, I think RJ Davis has had an unbelievable year, and I think he's the second best player in college basketball after Zach Edey. I think if you need a bucket and you're looking for somebody to score, I think RJ Davis would be the guy I'd pick in college basketball right now. He's unbelievable. You can't leave him open. He makes his free throws. He makes it look easy. He's playing unbelievable, but also we have some really good transfers. Harrison Ingram, he's a do-it-all guy. He's been unbelievable, better than advertised, and he's one of the best portal pickups I would consider in college basketball right now. He's been unbelievable. And why I really like North Carolina is because they're an older team, and I think older teams win in the tournament. And there's a lot of value in – I'm not a big fan of the portal, but I will say that having these fifth-year guys I think is much more valuable than having a 5-star freshman because their body is more developed. They have more experience. They're more mature. I just think there's a lot of value in that. And I think last year, in particular, when you saw San Diego State, they had a lot of older guys. They're an older team. And so I think that's why you're starting to see some of these teams with these older guys make runs from non-traditional powerhouse programs. And I do like Carolina because they're older. And also we have RJ Davis, I consider one of the best guards. And also don't forget about Armando. Armando's one of the better bigs in college basketball. And sometimes we forget about him. And then he has these games where, he reminds us, hey, I'm Armando. I'm one of the best bigs in college. Don't forget about me. So I really like that. I like North Carolina.
Definitely a lot to like. You mentioned the guard play. That obviously plays huge in March. Speaking of March, I've seen you on quite a few, field of 68. You're doing it. I see your face a lot talking college basketball. Is that something that you're actively trying to get involved in, is to be an analyst, or I see you a lot?
Yeah, I enjoy it. Done a few ESPN Plus games, Western Kentucky, and I've worked the radio for UNC for a few games. I just enjoy being around the game. I enjoy the environment. I enjoy the atmosphere, and also talking about the game, breaking things down a little bit. I really enjoy that. So, we'll see what comes of it. But yeah, I enjoy doing it so far.
Seems like it comes very naturally. You can just the game so inside and out. You can just spit off so many facts. It's just cool to hear you talk about it. Talk a little bit about Baycott more. I mean, what's it? You probably have a little bit of a relationship with him. You know him, but what's it like to see those guys that have several consecutive years stay at the same school and stay committed to the program?
Yeah, watching Armando from his freshman year, he's improved so much, and I've said that RJ and Armando are great examples of, you look at the year last year and, we didn't meet expectations, kind of a disappointing year. but they stayed. They stayed in school. They stayed at the same place. They didn't hit the portal. And, they were committed to improving and changing their mindset. And they're playing right now with great spirit. They're playing hard. And they're great examples of, hey, why you shouldn't hit the portal if things aren't going your way, and what happens when you work hard and you put the work in and it pays off. And that's what I really respect about those two.
You made your obviously what you feel about the portal. Another big thing changing college basketball and college sports in general is NIL, which wasn't around when you were in school. I imagine you would have made a few dollars back then. But what's your thoughts on NIL and how it's kind of changed the game?
So I consider these two separate. The reason I'm not a big fan of the portal is because it's poorly run. And also the other problem is you can't have the portal opening during the start of the NCAA tournament. Yeah, I mean, you're punishing teams that had a good year. You can't expect them to be fully committed to the tournament if the portal opens when the tournament begins. I mean, that to me would be kind of a common sense change and probably an easy change.
Yeah.
But I think there's some things that need to be cleaned up about the portal. And, I'm not a big fan of guys just transferring after a year. I just kind of feel like it's almost like free agency in professional sports. As far as the NIL, so I think the NIL thing is is a little interesting because I think naturally there's going to be a correction, and because all these numbers that people are throwing out, and you're paying these guys a lot of money that they're not producing like you thought they would, and so it's not like they're hitting up somebody different every single time for the NIL stuff. They're going to the same people. And eventually they're going to be like, listen, hey, you know what? Like, I want to see a little production before I start paying these kids. And I think naturally it's going to become more of performance-based NIL stuff. And I think that market will kind of correct itself. And, there's a lot of things to be figured out about NIL. And, my head gets to spinning when I actually think about all the ins and outs of it. I don't have the answers, but I know it could be, it's kind of like the wild, wild west. And I think it will, be a little smoother, but I don't know. I'm interested. I'm just like you guys. I don't know where it's going to go.
Awesome comments right there. Yeah, it's definitely, it's a new world. It's a world that we're constantly kind of adjusting to and seeing how it impacts the play on the floor. I want to shift gears a little bit away from March Madness and whatnot. Talk to you a little bit more about what you're up to now. We mentioned the analyst work. You've got a podcast yourself. Talk to me a little bit about your podcasting world and what else you're doing up to nowadays.
Yeah, so SHWW, Sleep Hawk Worldwide. We cover anything and everything, but I really enjoy that. My co-host, Sleep Dog, Brandon Staten, me and him went to school together. We have a great relationship, and we take a lot of trending topics and we break them down. We joke about them, but also we do a heavy sports-focused podcast. But also right now we're pretty UNC-based. We have a big UNC audience, and so I'll break down the games. We do a lot of college basketball work. So if you want to hear our opinions, tune in. We're on every platform, Sleep Hawk Worldwide. We discuss the games. We take questions from our listeners. And there's not a question we won't answer. So if you hate us and you want to tell us how bad we are, nothing personal. We'll answer it, and we'll touch that subject too. Been doing that. Been doing some analyst work, following college basketball, and playing a lot of pickleball. So I really enjoy pickleball, and I know a lot of people play golf, but pickleball is my thing. So I enjoy it.
I couldn't imagine looking across the court at a near 7-footer in pickleball. You probably have a good angle up there with the spikes and whatnot.
Yeah, I do. It works against me though, because usually if I'm having to reach over my head for a ball, it's probably going to be out, and I have a hard time pulling off those balls in my mindset.
What about golf? You a golf guy at all?
I used to golf a lot, and I really enjoyed it, but I just enjoyed pickleball so much more. I mean, I enjoyed golf, but It wasn't like I was, waking up, can't wait to get to the golf course. I wake up and I can't wait to go play pickleball and compete. And, there's a lot more smack talking in pickleball. And there's a middle component to pickleball
I was
that is
getting ready to ask if you were competitive on the pickleball court. I guess that was a dumb question.
oh, hey, man, these tennis players, they will talk smack and they get competitive. And so it's a part of the game of pickleball I love.
That's awesome.
So, like, how serious are we? Like, are you in tournaments and everything? Like, you trying to win some cash prizes or something like that?
I don't think there's not a lot of money in pickleball, first of all. But these young tennis players, D1 tennis players that are converting over into pickleball, they're a tough matchup for me. And so they have a lot more racket experience. But you know what? Me and my brother, we'll get out there. I play with my younger brother. We'll compete a little bit. We'll talk a little smack. And we have our days.
Nice.
So what I'm hearing is we need to host a celebrity pickleball tournament is what we need to do. Have a little bag for you to bring home.
I want to ask you one question that didn't come up earlier. The iconic photo of you from the Duke game, face all bloodied up. What's your memories of that? Obviously, that's the iconic photo of Psycho T back in the day. So what's your memories of that?
First of all, we were up big in that game. Late in the game, they fouled me. I actually got my own rebound off a free throw, pump fake, and honestly, I didn't know who elbowed me in my nose, and I thought it was DeMarcus Nelson. And so I was going to go after him, and then my teammate Dewey Burke grabbed me, and then the refs got involved. But it was a dirty play. It was a cheap shot, and there's nothing against Gerald. Gerald's a great guy. I'm way over it, but it was a dirty play, and I think sometimes in sports, emotions get high, and that just kind of happens. It's nothing against Gerald, but it was absolutely dirty play, and it fueled me against Duke, and I was pretty pissed off about that for years. And I was going to get Gerald back, and I always had that in my memory. When I played, I was going to take him out too. But that never really formulated. But it is what it is. I'm over it. Me and Gerald actually did a podcast a few times. But it's water under the bridge now.
Yeah. Awesome.
Very cool. Very cool. Whenever we look back at, just your highlights and your time in college, you make all these just like insane plays that just kind of personified, yourself on the court. Whenever you were on the court, did you see yourself as a guy that was like super collected and just seeing everything happen? Because to me, whenever I watched, it always seemed like you had these plays that were just like a out of body experience almost. Like just talk about the intensity you played with.
Yeah, you know what? You watch my highlights. I'm actually a little more calm than what the video actually may look like. I was putting myself in probably good positions to actually go up and score. And also, you watch a majority of my highlights, it's a right-hand hook. And even through contact or getting bumped, I just felt so confident if I got to my right hand, I could make it. Eventually, I got to the point where I felt like I could make it over two people. And so, I wasn't the best passer, but, when you saw those highlights, it's kind of the thing is like I made tough shots in the post, but also I put myself in good position. I tried to get the deep seal, where I could score. And that's kind of a lost art looking at, modern basketball. The way the game is today, it's kind of taken more of, hemorrhage threes instead of get the ball inside. But, I still think there's a lot of value of inside basketball. And I did play with a lot of intensity. I played with a lot of intensity and also spirit. I mean, I got competitive, and my on-the-court personality never matched who I am off the court. I'm very quiet and kind of laid-back dude. So a lot of people get a little mixed up when I meet them. But, I always played with a lot of spirit and intensity.
You obviously had a great college career. I've also spent some time in the NBA. I'm from Indianapolis. I spent several years with the Indiana Pacers. What was it like being an NBA player?
Yeah, the NBA was great. I really enjoyed my time. Had a lot of good teammates. Played for the Pacers when we went on a good playoff run. I'd always tell people, listen, we took the Miami Heat to Game 7 in Eastern Conference Finals, and my brother was on the team. We were one win away from going to the NBA Finals. And looking back, that was a really good experience. I played with Roy Hibbert, and Roy Hibbert never gets the credit he deserves as how good he was as a center. At one point, I thought Roy Hibbert was a top 3, if not the best center in the league. I mean, he could pass. There was no better rim protector in the NBA when I was playing. And he could score. He was unbelievable. And he'll never get the credit because, for some weird reason, his play wasn't as appealing as a lot of other guys. But he did everything, played with Paul George, unbelievable talent. Very lucky to be on that team and have a part of it. And then Toronto, going to Toronto was a great organization. Then playing for MJ in Charlotte too. Really enjoyed my time in the NBA and learned a lot about basketball and met a lot of good people.
Going all the way back to high school, you had Coach Gene Bess on your video when you were inducted into the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. Obviously, he's a Missouri sports legend, all-time winningest coach. What are your thoughts on Coach Bess? He recently celebrated a birthday, I believe. So,
Coach Bess he's one of the toughest coaches you could possibly play for. And he is old school, and he's one of the most disciplined basketball coaches. And I used to go to his camps every single summer. And a lot of my routine and what I worked on throughout my whole career, I learned when I went to his camps when I was super young. He taught me basketball. He also taught me how to work hard. Based off, I grew up a huge Three Rivers fan. I used to go to all the games with my dad, my grandpa, all that. And so, how his teams played defense and how they competed, I loved watching them. And, he had a huge impact on me in my basketball career. It's where it all started. And growing up, I always wanted to play for him. But he's an unbelievable coach, and he's had unbelievable success.
Absolutely. He's in that conversation short list with Norm Stewart and a few others as one of the GOATs of Missouri coaches in basketball. One question I want to get to, it's one that we always ask our Missouri guests when they join the podcast. Whenever you're back here in Missouri, whether it be Poplar Bluff or Springfield, what's your go-to spot? What's the one place you got to go get some grub from?
Let me see here. I'm a big fan of the Dexter Barbecue. That's close to Poplar Bluff.
Oh, yeah.
Great place. Great ribs. I know
where Dexter Barbecue is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would probably say Dexter Barbecue. Yeah, the ribs are great. Unbelievable.
You can't go wrong there.
Awesome. Yeah, barbecue. That's the way to go. Our barbecue around here, it's a little underappreciated. We're a little blessed with it for sure.
I've eaten at the Dexter Barbecue more than once, so that's my stop on Highway 60.
Oh yeah.
Byron's always known for his eating habits. He's a guy that'll eat a barbecue or a chili dog for breakfast. He loves the food.
Hey, I'm with you. That's the same way I am. I'm a big food guy.
Well, we'd love if you're ever back in Missouri, Tyler. We'd love to have you stop in. I know you're into the pickleball, but even golf. We'd love to have you in some of our tournaments or something if you're ever back this way. So we certainly congratulate you on an outstanding career. Congratulations on your induction last year into the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. Certainly well deserved, and we look forward to watching you to grow into whatever you get into post NBA career. So.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me on, and I'll definitely be at a golf tournament, and I enjoyed it. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. We appreciate you joining us. It means a lot. You are one of the many faces that make the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame what it is, and it's our honor to be able to recognize outstanding athletes and coaches and teams in the state. I think you're going to be in the same boat as us, though, here in the next few weeks, watching all of the madness unfold, and we'll be keeping a close eye on the Tar Heels this weekend and beyond. Thank you to all of our listeners who joined us for another episode. We have new episodes that release every Wednesday, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. We have some awesome guests like Tyler that join us, and you can always tune in for the latest in Missouri sports news and beyond. With that being said, Byron, anything for the people?
We'll see you next week. Thank you, Tyler.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
We will see you next time on another episode of Where the Game Lives On.